Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another breaking news update for Boruto TBV Vortex. And today we're going to be going over some of the official news that we have from V-Jump magazine in relation to the upcoming Boruto TBV Vortex chapter, which is going to be chapter 13, and it's going to be the first chapter of volume 4 of the manga. Since this information broke while I was out of town this past weekend dealing with family issues, I wasn't able to cover it until today because I didn't have time to pack my microphone before leaving. So I'm just now getting around to covering this because I got home yesterday afternoon. So thank you guys for your patience, for those of you guys who have been sticking around waiting for me to cover this update. As a reminder, the next chapter of Boruto TBV Vortex will be out on the 20th this month, which means we'll be getting the official preview pages next week, and we're likely getting spoilers either that weekend or the following Monday, so the day before the chapter, depending on whether or not leakers are able to get their hands on the magazine early or not. As always, when the official promo pages drop, I will cover it like I'm doing this preview here, and the same with the spoilers, and the chapter review will either be out the day of the release or 1 to 2 days after, depending on when I get the chapter and how long the chapter review editor needs to work on the content. So now that we got the housekeeping out of the way, let's look at the information that we have courtesy of V-Jump magazine. So as you guys know, every now and then, V-Jump magazine, the Japanese magazine where Boruto runs weekly and with Dragon Ball Super's manga on hiatus, it is currently the biggest series in said magazine and the second biggest monthly series, or Shueisha, behind the Rurouni Kenshin sequel manga. Every now and then, they will hype up an upcoming chapter of the Boruto manga if there is something being cooked up in that chapter, and for this one, we're getting the official teaser from V-Jump that is independent of the official Naruto website, and this time they're hyping up a big time for the ending of the Jura battle in a way that appears to be promising some destruction of Konoha in the process, with some very strong language being offered up in the preview itself. On the teaser preview, we see Jura looming in the background, looking down at Boruto and Kawaki as the two of them are in a heated dispute before we see a Bijudama bullet shoot out and slam into Boruto's chest. Down below, we see the additional bodies that Jura collected, with Himawari screaming in pain and Sarada being shot. The various texts over the preview, they paint a very daunting, horrific future for the upcoming chapter, which shows Boruto getting shot was indeed something that made things a lot worse than maybe even some of the most edgelord of fans among us have ever anticipated, and it shows just how much of a protective barrier Boruto's presence has served for Konoha. The first line of the text, it says that Konoha falls. Boruto's caught off guard. Jura pierces his chest. The line underneath, that states that Jura is overwhelming Konoha with tremendous power. What will be the ending of Boruto versus Jura? The remaining text goes on to hype up Boruto TBV Vortex Volume 3, which will be containing chapters 9 through 12. So basically, Himawari awakening the Nine Tails chakra all up to this last chapter, because due to the monthly manga being bare minimum 40 pages, instead of getting 10 chapters per volume like a weekly series, we get 4 chapters per volume because manga volumes typically have 140 to 160 pages. I'm clarifying that since I still get people who ask me every time a volume comes out, why doesn't Boruto have more chapters per volume like other Shueisha series, Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia? One is monthly, one is weekly. The price count is always set to the number of pages in the volume itself. So now let's get into what should immediately stand out based on what the narrator is telling us about Konoha falling as a result of this. I want to say right now up front, I don't think that we need to jump the gun and say this is the moment where Konoha gets nuked like we saw in the opening chapter of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, where the flash forward sequence shows only Boruto and Kawaki are the survivors in a dystopia known as Konoha in terms of the wreckage. I've already seen a few people either on Twitter or in the emails people sent me saying, hey, the new teaser spoilers out. There are a lot of people that think that this is the case, and so I want to say right now I strongly disagree for a few reasons. Tamper your expectations on that. The first is that we know with certainty what Boruto's age is during that scene, because Back in 2017, when the anime's first episode came out, Studio Pierrot released the character sheet for Boruto, and his age was listed as 16 years old. Boruto right now is currently 15, and based on what Amato said in Boruto Naruto Next Generations, there was a 6-month time gap between when Amato arrived in Konoha and the ending of Boruto Part 1. The timeline, it does not add up if you go with this being the moment where Konoha is destroyed and then you do Boruto versus Kawaki. Boruto and Sarada were 11 during Naruto Gaiden, the 7th Hokage in the Scarlet Spring, so for anime-only viewers, that's what you refer to as the Shinuchiya arc of Boruto's anime, which we know the age via the official author statement from the Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto. They were 11 years old there. Boruto and Sarada are freshly 12 in the Momoshiki arc because Boruto has his birthday a few days before that. Going by Amato's statement, Boruto was just over 12 and a half years old when the ending of Boruto Part 1 ended, because there's 6 months that have passed. Basically, he's 12 going on 13, the same way that Naruto was 13 at the end of Part 1 of Naruto, and after the 2.5-year time skip between Naruto Volume 27 and 28, Naruto was 15 going on 16 when he returns to Konoha, and he turned 16 during that 6-month time gap between the Tenchi Bridge arc and when Sasuke defeats Orochimaru. Naruto timeline video is being worked on. It is going to be a very long video in length, probably very close to that 2.5-hour full story Boruto video, because Naruto has a ton of time jumps that people don't pay attention to due to how the anime presented stuff. I still say we need a few more things to happen before we get to that boiling point with Kawaki where he and Boruto fight, but it's clear that the story is building towards that moment where the kid has a giant meltdown in the future. Everything that we've seen up until this point, post time skip, it has been building towards that very moment. I know people want to see the battle that was teased 8 years ago, but we're still in the midst of Boruto's flashback leading up to that point. So strap in, let the story cook, and just enjoy the ride. However, the prospect of Jura doing some heavy damage to Konoha, now that is very intriguing. Kawaki is pretending to be Naruto's son. Konoha remembers Naruto's firstborn child as a kid who protected the village from Ishiki, and many of them know that he played a key role in rescuing Naruto from Momoshiki. Naruto's child is a hero who is associated with there being minimum damage, even if it wasn't always his doing. Very similar to how an NFL quarterback gets all the praise for winning football games when it might be, say, the defense who gets a huge stop and it puts the game away. We're potentially seeing a parallel here. The true son of Naruto has kept damage to a minimum in the eyes of a lot of villagers, which is why Kawaki is being forced to walk in the shoes of a great man, and he's not going to be able to live up to those expectations that were set by Boruto. If Konoha takes heavy damage, it's a very cool parallel to show how Boruto is on the opposite end of Kawaki. One's actions driven by love and a sense of duty versus the other's actions, while they carry an undertone of love and a sense of duty for Naruto, they are mostly driven by his own selfish need for survival and maintaining a lie. That's not to say that Kawaki feels nothing for Konoha, because he does, just as someone can grow to love someone they didn't initially care about. But for Kawaki, Naruto, that is his North Star, and he's looking towards that star at times for guidance. So the idea of Konoha taking damage at any significant amount, it doesn't have to be a mass scale destruction of the village, but any real damage that he couldn't stop is going to be a nice injection for Kawaki's character. Now, the next thing that we have here that the narrator says is the quiet part out loud for the disingenuous clowns who are continuing to use Boruto being off guarded by Jura as a way to downplay the guy and say he's only Biju Bomb level, which is absolutely foolish. On top of it being a Biju Dama that is compressed down, which makes it denser and a stronger attack due to how compressing things work when you compress down energy into a singular point. He's also off guard, which means you have to throw that feat out the window. This is right there with making the argument that Ishiki is only base Naruto level, because Naruto on base did more damage to Ishiki when he kicked off his chin guard than any of Naruto's attacks using 6-pass Sage Mode with the Kyuubi cloak. One of these examples, the Ishiki example, is someone clearly off guard. Now, the next thing that we have here is that we're told this is the ending of Boruto versus Jura, and that Jura is overwhelming Konoha with tremendous power, which I do believe. Several people are down for the count right now. Jura already has Hidari's Thorn Soul, which is one of his priorities. I don't see a situation where he doesn't take the bird in hand at some point, just because he is smart enough to know when to cut bait. But I do think he's going to attempt to carry out his promise of killing Boruto. It'll probably happen once Kawaki is put to sleep for the 100th time this chapter, and Delta smashed so hard she's on her back with the legs in the air after Jura pounds her into the ground. The main question here, though, is are we going into the ending of this arc with a Momoshiki reveal, even if it is brief, and Boruto regains control, since he has shown the capability to control karma, at least in the sense he can suppress Momoshiki's influence better when he's in a situation where he has more chakra. That could be a good way to split the baby here. Lastly, this is another reminder. This is only the official V-Jump preview, not the spoilers that leak out a few days before the chapter, which drops on the 20th. This also is not from the 2 teaser pages that the official Naruto website releases before the chapters drop. Just throwing that out there because it seems like every time I do decide to cover any of the chapter previews, a lot of people, they mistake it for like the spoiler and etc. So gonna test out on the thumbnail. I got 2 versions of the thumbnail being shown, one that says teaser and then one that says promotional spoiler, just to try and see which one resonates better. I know there's a lot of new fans that are just now getting into Boruto now that the anime's ended, so things like the spoilers, when the chapters come out, etc. A lot of you guys are learning this for the first time, so this is why, like, if you're a long-time viewer, you hear me kind of repeat some stuff that you've already heard me say before. It's because in the last 4 months, new viewer traffic on the channel, about 45% of the views are coming from new viewers. So that's why you hear me repeat quite a bit. So I don't want anyone confused. The next Naruto What If is about 75% done. You should be seeing it this weekend. And if you're an Obito fan, you're gonna love this one, but in the meantime, click here to watch this video from my Anime Explained channel where I discuss other series besides Naruto and Boruto, and click here to check out this Naruto Explained video that YouTube has suggested that you check out.